And welcome to Trauma 105, the fifth episode in a series of sharing about trauma. Uh, Trauma, truth, and transformation go together really well. All right, let's see. I'm going to put my name down here. Oh, say hello and let me know your name. Yay, I'll put that in the box. When you join us, that'll be great for you to take care of it. Well, since trauma is the first thing in the list of T words, trauma, truth, and transformation, uh, let's talk a little bit about what trauma is. Trauma is an overwhelming circumstance, happening, event, or it can be a series of events or a pattern of events that goes on for a season or a phase of your life that completely overwhelms your mind, your emotions, your body. It's just overload all the way around. I think they called it psychosocial, physical, whatever was one of the long terms that I read about it. But basically, it's when your circuits get blown in every area of your body. Most especially, trauma is marked by massive changes in the brain, where the emotional center, the amygdala, is everything rushes there. The cortisol and adrenaline and other juices rush over to the amygdala. It's a survival reaction that's automatic in the body. And it goes away from the part of our brains where our thinking, the intellect functions, and so on. And that's where I talked earlier, I believe it was in session 3, about the fight, flight, or freeze reaction. Those are the normal automatic reactions that happen when trauma hits. And then I also finished it up with the last F, which is faith. Faith that God will take care of us. Now, tonight, the title is Retraining, and a little bit wider title is Intentional Retraining. And that fits in with what I was just saying about the effects on the brain, which then go into our mental capacity, functioning of our thought processes and so on over time are greatly affected. Also, our bodies are affected. Adrenal fatigue is not a surprising, I don't want to say common, but it's not a surprising effect of trauma, but other kinds of things fit in there too. Fibromyalgia, even chronic illnesses like MS, and some others. They talk about the roots being actually in trauma. Also, mind, body, spirit, yes. Our spirit gets twisted up and we start to see things in incorrect ways. I don't know how to explain that. Anyway, we get distanced from the truth of God's word. And so that impact is very powerful. And because the brain has a level of plasticity, it's the way God made it, actually new pathways can be created in the brain that handle situations, coping skills, if you will. I have some of those from my childhood, the coping skills that are not really effective at all. They relate directly to that amygdala, the emotional survival process, and don't take into account the the actual reality, basically, the factors that are going on in our life. And of course, for a child, how much can a child process anyway? And so there is a great impact. And actually, when I was reading the book titled "Your Body Keeps the Score" by Hans van Cok, I think his name is. Anyway, a Dutch guy. When he was describing that about the effect on the brain is actually rewired and reshaped by trauma. This is what happens to people who serve in the military. PTSD is a common description that's given, and yet those of us that have been affected not outside the military, there's a new delineation for that's called C-PTSD, which the C can stand for complex or continual, because it happens over long periods of time and really affects the brain. When I read that paragraph in Your Body Keeps the Score, I was ready to give up. I actually put a bookmark in there and shut the book. It was so discouraging. I think I cried even. And I left it there for some time until somebody else, I heard somewhere in a webinar class or conference or something about how the plasticity of the brain is maintained. So those changes don't just come in and stay there, but we can, by intentional retraining, that's the title, intentional retraining, we can find healthier pathways. Now, that doesn't mean that our brains go back to the way they were before any trauma happened, which some people would say that's before birth. However, there is healing that can take place. Now, the scientists talk about it. Medical people talk about it. There's plenty of evidence about it. However, what I believe is that it's the work of God, that He heals our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. Actually, the spirit is the central thing, the central aspect, because out of the spirit flows into all of life. Our spiritual lives are really key. Anyway, that retraining needs to be intentional, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of time. I don't know if there's a direct proportion between how much time we spend getting into the trauma trap or how intense that trauma trap is compared to how long or how difficult or easy it is to come out of it. I don't know if that's directly proportional. I just know it takes courage, it takes time, it takes intentionality. Beginning with the idea, generally recognizing the trauma and not standing, not accepting, not just allowing its impact to continue. And that's really what I'd like to speak about tonight, because I have come across an interesting strategy, process, approach. I'm not sure exactly what to call it, but it's called progressive overload. And I actually learned it in the process of treating actually, it started with an injury, treating my legs, my knees in particular, to help improve my mobility and ease the pain, recover as much of pain-free living as I possibly can. I've been working on that for several months, and it's going to continue for several months. I've now had one stem cell injection, and I will be having another one in 3 more months. Anyway, the plasticity of the brain, the retraining of the brain, actually, that retraining needs to incorporate our whole lives. And so I want to share this with you, even though ouch, I'm uncomfortable, even though it started with my physical rehabilitation. It's actually a strategy concept process that applies to our minds and our spirits, our psychological selves, all of us. Let me explain. As being treated at Green Life Wellness here in Greenville, and it is a chiropractic practice. They have chiropractic adjustments, the Gonstead techniques, and they have another department that they call functional movement. It would remind us of physical therapy, but it's really more than that. It's retraining the body to move in ways that are appropriate. For my knees, the one that got injured hadn't been working properly, and that had to be straightened out and retrained. The other knee just went along with the process because you need to work on two knees at once. Well, Xavier is the guy that is in that department. And he began teaching me. I had to just lift my knee, my leg, sit down and just lift my foot up and put it down 15 times each leg, 4 times or 3 times, I guess, at first, and so on. And then other exercises. Now, this came on the back of me having been working out 5 days a week at the local gym, doing I had a trainer there, just what comes with the membership. I'm periodically training every 6 months. You can meet with a trainer if you wish and update your workout routine, which is what I did. I was also referred there by physicians. Anyway, so it was definitely a step down. I had been lifting weights and doing all kinds of upper and lower body exercises and felt good about it and strong, and leave the gym every day feeling I have fresh oxygen in my body. This is all really great. Then I'm sitting there just lifting a foot up and down, up and down. No, it wasn't fun. Doing clamshells. Oh, there's a bug in my house. Clamshells, just, I don't know, 10 each. Weights 15 or 20 pounds, and I had been doing 35 pounds or so. Just, it was really a back off from what I had been doing. Now that was an adjustment. All right, that was an adjustment. I need to learn this new routine and train my legs. All right, I can do that. Then it was tricky because on my chart, he had 3 times 8 of this particular exercise, and 4 times 10 of another kind of exercise, and so on. And in my workout, I was doing the same number and the same number of reps in a set and the same number of sets. So, I don't know, 3 or 4 different machines, different exercises were the same numbers, and that was great because I knew what I was doing. My free weights, I was doing 4 sets of 15 of 8 pounds and all of these, and then 5 pounds in just one of them. And I could just think about other things, listen to my music, and do my exercise. And I couldn't do that anymore with Xavier. I had to stop and look down and pay attention. And a few visits would go by, and I would be doing all right. And then he would switch it. Oh no, not instead of 3 times 8, let's do 3 times 10 or 12. Oh, instead of doing 20 pounds, let's increase this to 25 pounds. And so I hope you're grasping the difference. It was pretty stable, and I felt like, oh, I've got the workout down, when I'm going to the gym. Now, pretty much every time I went, I was concentrating to memorize the numbers so that I could just think about other things. And also uh, the routine, which order the exercises came in and so on. And just about the time I would pretty much get it figured out, you would change something. It was not fun. It was not fun because I had to keep paying attention and thinking. It was annoying, to be honest. So I started giving him a hard time about that. I said, hey, come on. These two exercises are really similar, and now you've changed those too. Well, come on, I'm trying to. Yeah. And he just would smile at me. Of course, I also had to pay attention to, my technique, make sure I was moving correctly. And he had my motions and activities much slower. Previously I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two. It was making me crazy. And I used to be able to get into when I started not just working out at the practice, but then I was going to the gym, back to the gym, and just meeting with Xavier once a week, that kind of thing. And I still had to go slowly. It was taking me an hour and a half instead of only an hour. And so I was not on my routine. Boy, did I pick on him for that. I said, well, that's all right. You just need to pay attention. Need to pay attention. Well, he was right. And then slowly, I started to grasp the point. I needed to be present. I needed to be present in my exercise routine, not having my mind off somewhere else. Boy, that was an education. And talk about the spiritual aspect of that. I'm sure you see that. Well, anyway, I finally said, come on, explain this to me, because I'm going to be going to the gym all the time before long, and I need to understand. He said, well, it's actually a technique called progressive overload. Progressive overload? I thought he was speaking Greek to me. And I continued to try to sort that out. He did explain it to me kindly. He's just a great guy, several times. But I knew that I was pretty much going to be going back to the gym, and I said to him, okay, could you just please write down what you mean by this progressive overload thing? Because I don't get it. And he said, well, what do you mean? What do you think? I said, well, that thing where you keep changing and adding either another set or, yes, usually he would add another set and lower the reps. So instead of doing 3 sets of 15, he would have me do 4 sets of 12 until that became comfortable. And then he would change it. And so I explained what I thought, and he just smiled and he said, yes, you understand it. So I realized, well, yes, I do, don't I? I do, don't I? So when things get comfortable, I need to pay attention going along. But then when things get comfortable, I need to be aware and maybe increase the number of reps per set, or maybe increase the sets and back up on the reps a little bit. Or maybe I've been working at something a while and need to add a little bit more weight. But I needed to pay attention to each exercise, each machine, each motion, and adjust my workout to that. I said, yeah, but I can't just check out. And he smiled and he said, well, that's the point. That's the point. It took a while for that to settle in. I've been at this now, let's see. I started with the chiropractor in November, but I started with Xavier in the middle of December. So it's been 2.5 months. I finally sorted it all out. And it dawned on me, you know what? That's how God operates too. God operates the same way. Just about the time when I feel like, let's see. No, all right. I'll share this one. When my part of my recovery was getting into a panic mode very easily. And I started to realize I was living on that level all the time. My body wasn't going to be able to maintain that. I did have adrenal fatigue and I needed to pay attention. So I was calming my body down when I felt it when I felt my, well, I don't know for sure if it was my heart rate, but anyway, when I could feel myself feeling all jumbled up inside, I would say, wait a minute, Sandra. And most of my days were starting that way. And I just have calmed my morning start because I know how the day starts generally flows through the day. So I would calm that down. Now, when I take a shower, I'm not in and out in 3 minutes because I know all the stuff I have before me. I take my time. I take my time. I'm not in a panic. I'm not in a panic. Well, I thought that I was doing that pretty well. I was in this little comfort zone. And then all of a sudden, something jostled me. And that's what happens. I noticed that's what God does. When you think, oh, I'm learning this patience thing. Oh, I've grown a little bit in avoiding such and such. And then all of a sudden, something will come that, well, it could be a jostling or it could be a smack. Like, wow, wow. And actually, that happened to me this week because I think that I have made progress. It's been going fairly well. But this week, I was working on, I went to the ophthalmologist last week for my eyes, and I'm supposed to be putting warm compresses on twice a day, right along where the line is for my eyelashes. So I got this cute little mask. It's got gel BBs in it. Microwave it 15 seconds and put it on your eyes. And I thought, oh, this will be really restful. This is really nice. And so I did that. And I came upstairs and I laid down and it's like, wait a minute, I can't read. Wait a minute, I can't do anything else. I had to just be here for 20 minutes. It was hard, but I put that on my face. Hello, welcome. I put it on my face and relaxed, and I thought, oh, this will be really nice. I get this time to myself. Well, let me tell you, by the time I set my timer on my phone. By the time my little timer went off on my phone, I thought I was going to jump out of my skin. Yeah, there's the jostling. There's God. He's such a tricky guy telling me, yes, Sandra, you have made progress, but now I'm alerting you and you have more growing to do. And so my comfort zone is shot. And now I have to retrain my body in a larger circle about this whole being relaxed, living in God's hand, basically. And it takes meditation on scripture, remembering the truth, which is part of what I plan to do as I move forward. I did do that mask already today for 10 minutes. I didn't have 20 because I had to go out, but I did it for 10, and when I go to bed now, I'm going to do it for 10. Intentional retraining. And when I do that, it's exactly my focus is going to be on God. It's going to be paying attention to where I am in my day, things I can thank him for, truths about who he is and how he takes care of me, to relax my body, to allow that to go more deeply into relaxed mode. So anyway, that's my plan. That's how progressive overload works. I have to increase the effort I'm making. And the same thing goes intellectually. I'm now taking an advocacy course, and that's part of the purpose of that, is to train my mind in thinking in a new way about how to support others. And of course, learning about myself along the way. Progressive overload. Now I know how to explain the kind of stuff God does. He doesn't just throw me around to my own devices and then all of a sudden bring me up short. No, he has a plan to teach and train me, take me where I need to go. All right. I noticed that I don't have any questions in the inbox, and that's fine. I want you to understand that we're coming. I have one more session planned here, and next time I'm going to be talking about healing signals. In other words, some of the ways that I personally know that I am coming out of the impact of trauma, how I'm healing from the C, PTSD, symptoms, mindset, influence, the changed and altered pathways in my brain are being rerouted in healthy directions. And I have several illustrations since I knew that that was going to be session 106. I have been jotting ideas down. So I will be bringing that up. All right. I'm also going to be sharing with you what is the number one weapon. It's my goal is to help other women along this path. I want more and more company on this journey, being who God designed us to be and to fulfill His purpose for us, which brings us fulfillment too, and balance, and peace, and joy, and this abundant life that Christ came for us to have. And in this last little while, I have come to understand the number one weapon in my healing. Now, I will share that with you also next time. All right, there you go. Once you listen to this, if you have questions that you'd like to pose to me, I'm available. You can message me on Facebook. You can email me at sandraallenlovelace@gmail.com. You can reach me there, and let's start a conversation. Alrighty. Good night, and have a blessed week.